Welcome to the Cell Soul Source podcast. I'm Jackie, a chiropractor, yogi, and Akashic reader, and I'm here to activate healing in light workers of all kinds so they can serve from an empowered place and fulfill their purpose with ease, awe, and wonder. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode. I am so excited to introduce a guest to you today. Her name is Emily. She's an ICF-certified personal freedom and business coach. She supports entrepreneurs to scale their business through social media strategy, messaging, content strategy, energetics, subconscious reprogramming, and hypnosis. Emily's approach is rooted in 15 years of marketing, supporting both Fortune 500 companies and startups alike to grow their businesses using the power of social media, influencer marketing, brand development, and word of mouth marketing. Emily's greatest passion lies in supporting service providers to unfuck their marketing and stand out online. Her current clientele includes coaches, consultants, real estate agents, content creators, agency owners, hypnotherapists, and artists. So before we begin, I will just share that Emily and I met online, and although we come from very, very different backgrounds, we share a similar mission. So hopefully that will become clear as we have this conversation. Emily, welcome. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. And I always love meeting powerhouses like you on Instagram and those moments when I can get into social media. I'm so over it. I always remind myself, I have met so many amazing women, some of my best friends on Instagram.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to complain about Instagram.
No, my feed is literally full of women who inspire me. Not just women, mostly women who inspire me. Some of them have given me such pearls of wisdom, and they don't even know I exist. And then others like you, I've had the good fortune to connect with. And it's almost like we know each other on a soul level. We're going in the same direction with a similar mission.
Yeah. I love that about how we met. We were like, hey, I see what you're doing. You're here to do the same thing I am. We're here to support the light workers, the healers of the planet, to get their magic and their medicine into the hands of the humans who need them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's start with your story. Take us back to the beginning. I have got a program launching in January. So the topic that I'm talking about at the moment is burnout. And I know that you have a burnout story. So take us back to that, your then story.
Oh, I always love reminiscing on where I used to be. And it wasn't that long ago, actually. So I left my 9 to 5. It will be 5 years in, I think, January. Yeah, this January, February, March, around there is when I left 5 years ago. And I was in the tech world of New York City, where it was very hustle and grind. And, where it was just very glamorized to be staying up very late and messaging your boss. I remember messaging my boss at like 2 a.m. on Slack and being like, I just finished the report. And he was like, wow, you're such a hard worker. So you got a lot of positive reinforcement that made you a great employee and something that would be, promotable.
Yeah.
And so I worked in marketing for 10, 15 years, ended my career in the 9 to 5 at a tech startup, supporting them to scale using social media, branding, influencer marketing. And I loved it in many ways, but what I see now in retrospect was happening was I was operating from a place of burnout and going completely against my energetic blueprint. Like we were saying before we hit record, I'm a projector in human design. I am not meant to be working 15 hours a day
No.
like I was.
Yeah.
And And I had a lot of success really early on. I climbed the career ladder very quickly. By the time I was at that tech company, I was promoted to director at age 30, was managing a large team of 20. It was like everything, I'd quote unquote ever wanted.
Yeah.
And it was that hustle and grind that got me there. And I
Mm.
always in my performance reviews would hear like, Emily, you're such a hard worker. You just do anything for the company. We can always count on you. So it was a big part of my personality
Yeah.
to just self-sacrifice
Yeah.
and override my body's wisdom. And like in that period, transparently, like I developed coping mechanisms to
Mm-hmm.
deal with burnout. I became a very heavy drinker.
Mm.
It was also normal in New York to go out for a few martinis after work. So I was like, no problem here. 3 martinis on a Monday, no big deal. But go shopping, all these things to kind of numb that like feeling of like, oh my God, is this all there is? I can't,
Yeah.
is this really what I want my life to be? And
Yeah.
came to this moment, right, of having reached that position that I'd always wanted of director and scaling the top of the mountain, it felt like something I'd been working towards
Yeah.
my whole career. And I just remember feeling like, wow, the view on top of this mountain isn't that great, is it? Like
Yes.
what's next here?
Mm.
VP and even more, like no, managing more people, a little bit more money. And I remember the big moment when I realized that it's time to
Oh,
get
I
the
love the
out.
moment.
Oh, the moment. Here's the moment. It's just such a beautiful moment, actually. I remember calling my dad and being like, Dad, I just got promoted to director. I'm making this much money. I'm managing this many people. And he said, That's great, Emily. I'm so proud of you. And that was it. And I remember talking to my therapist at the time and being like, he didn't react in the way I wanted him to react. I'm the oldest of 4 daughters, also why I'm such a hyperachiever, right? I wanted
Mm-hmm.
him to, like, I realize in retrospect, proclaim his love for me and that I'm his favorite daughter. And it was in that moment I realized my dad, the most amazing man, he doesn't care. He really doesn't care how much I'm making or what my title is. He just wants you to be happy and safe and have a roof over my head. So my career started to unravel from that
Mm.
moment pretty rapidly when I realized in therapy, at the therapy office at the time, most of my career was trying to receive my dad's love and my dad's approval.
Yes.
And I think so many humans can resonate with that when you look back on why you made certain choices in your teens, what you studied, throughout your 20s,
Yeah.
what company you went to. It was very much like, okay, yeah, I want my parents to love me more. There's
Mm.
such a primal drive we have as humans.
Yeah.
And so I then resigned within the year. And everyone said I was crazy because they're like, you have this amazing title, amazing company. But I was like, it's not it. And I was very much like, what's the worst that can happen? That's always been my motto. Like, let's just fuck around and find out and see what
Yeah.
happens. And I left and I started doing marketing consulting. And I was very much like, I want to be a digital nomad. I want to skip on beaches in Bali and work 4 hours. And then the pandemic hit a few months later, like 2 months later, maybe even a month. It was just no time at all. So then I was quarantined in my parents' basement instead of skipping on beaches in Bali. And that was
Yes.
not what I had planned.
No.
But it was then in that quarantine, right, when so many humans had I think an existential crisis because we had all this spaciousness. We couldn't reach for our usual numbing coping mechanisms. Like I couldn't go out drinking. I couldn't go out dating and shopping. So I was in this stillness and I was like, okay, Emily, this consulting thing, it's cool, but it's still not it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I found in my parents' basement during quarantine an old notebook, an old journal from when I was like 20, 21 years old.
No way.
True freaking story, dude. And there was a bucket list of what, young 20, 21-year-old Emily wanted to do. And at the top of that
Yeah.
list was literally be a life coach. And I was like,
No way. Do you remember writing that?
I don't remember writing it, but I remember being obsessed with like Gabby Bernstein and like some
Okay.
of the first like really famous coaches. And I was like, whatever she's doing, I want to do that.
Mm.
Then, I got serious and it was like time to climb the career ladder. So I forgot about that. But in my my last role and I was managing a large team, like they would call me Coach Emily sometimes because I got very involved in their personal lives, not just their professional goals, but I crossed all the boundaries. And I was like, let's see what you want to do with your life this year. What's your vision? And so in retrospect, I'd actually started coaching in my 9 to 5.
But isn't it funny how we don't always know it in the moment, but it's being reflected back to us?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And so the puzzle pieces kind of just fit. And again, I was just like, what do I have to lose? Let's go get certified. So I went and got certified as a coach during the pandemic, and the rest is history. Here we are.
Yeah,
That's my
that
origin.
is amazing. So tell us some of the strategies and the mechanisms and the tools that you used, because obviously you could see how you were working and you thought, right, I don't want to go back to that. What were the things that you changed when you started working for yourself, by yourself, coaching?
To prevent burnout.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and then we have to dive into how then I forgot all those things. But this year, true story. When I started coaching, it really coincided with this whole period of like, oh, I'd always been a seeker, like since I was a kid. Like I remember during going to soccer practice, listening to Eckhart Tolle in the minivan on the way to soccer practice. Like I was always into this.
Yeah,
But
not
then
everyone's doing that.
I was like, the power of the now. That sounds interesting. So when I started my coaching business, I was just diving into human design and manifestation, the laws of the universe. And I learned, like I had said to you, I was a projector and started to really be like, okay, how can that makes sense why I was so miserable in my 9 to 5. Like, how can I design my life to honor my unique energetic blueprint? And I'd also started really studying burnout at the time, like trying
Mm,
to unpack like what had happened to me.
mm,
And so I got very practical in terms of like, okay, well, you have a limited amount of energy. We know you're at your best. We know you're in my genius, in my magnetism, connected to my intuition when I'm not in a state of overwhelm and burnout. So I started
yeah,
to implement really practical things like no calls on Monday and Friday.
yeah,
I started to limit the amount of coaching calls I had each day,
yeah,
right? I started to really, this is a big thing for me still, devote to pleasure and really much seeing that how in the past I had that belief, and like so many people in the United States and in the Western world have, of like,
yeah,
okay, or I do, the more I accomplish, the more I check off, the better I'm going to feel, right? We get high from accomplishment. And I was like, can I just get high on my own supply first? That pleasure, that aliveness, that connection to my body. And then I know that the better I feel, actually, the better I'm going to do. And the
yeah,
more I'm going to get done actually when I'm feeling amazing. Because we
yeah,
we know what happens when we like feel exhausted and burnt out and overwhelmed. We're not very productive, are we? It's kind of just like we're sitting there glaring at the computer like I must work. So I really started to get interested about working less but doing more in these periods where I'd like really intentionally raised my energy and just to feel amazing. And then this is also a signature of a projector. We can get more done in 2 hours than some people in 2 weeks when we're
mm,
really on and really aligned.
mm,
So those were two of the big things, and
yeah,
really learning actually learning boundaries, because in my 9 to 5 I had no boundaries because like I said, I got so many rewards for having no boundaries.
yeah,
So
yeah,
really seeing that and seeing that people pleaser part of me that just like wanted to jump through hoops for clients and be available 24/7. And oh my God, they're going to love me, want to resign if I answer on a Saturday morning, all
yeah,
that shit.
yeah,
So those are my three big pillars of how I really like supported myself to not continue down that path. Because I
yeah,
was very clear, like I'm building this business ultimately, like most entrepreneurs, to feel a sense of freedom. And if I don't enjoy the journey of creating this business, what is the goddamn point? It should go back to my
yeah,
9 to 5 if I'm going to suffer for the first 2 years. And
yeah,
like
yeah.
that's not what I'm here for.
And did it feel in any way as you were making these adjustments, because you'd spent 20, 30 years doing it a different way. And as
Yeah.
you were making these adjustments, did they feel uncomfortable? Did they take conscious effort for you to stay on that path until it became a new behavior for you?
Oh, for sure. For sure. It was a rewiring of, like you said, of a lifelong pattern as like a hyperachiever, oldest of four, and just being in this culture we're in. I definitely felt some guilt at first and some like, oh, you're being lazy. It's Monday morning. You should be racing around checking things off. And but I really anchored into, because I'm a very analytical person, actually. I have this
Yeah.
combination of hyper analytical and hyper just like woo and spiritual.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, like I love to work with my conscious mind when I'm making these kinds of shifts. And I was like, hey, conscious mind, we actually have a lot of data points that when you feel amazing, you accomplish so much more, more clients want to work with you. It's good for business to
Yes.
prioritize your energy.
Yeah.
And so I always would come back to that data point of like what I saw. And I knew in my 9 to 5, I had data points, right? Of when I would walk into the office, like hungover, underslept, having worked until 2 in the morning. I knew what I was like the next day in the
Yeah.
office. I knew I
Yeah.
forgot what I was saying in meetings. I knew I would make a lot of typos. I knew I was irritable. I knew I wasn't fun to be around.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I knew all of this from years of operating in burnout and in unhealthy coping mechanisms that then sent me further into burnout. Because, right, like when you're partying all weekend and you come in on Monday morning, you haven't actually rested and rejuvenated, have you? You're operating, instead of filling your cup over the weekend, your cup is going down and down and down. So you start Monday at a deficit, like worse than Friday when you walked
Yeah. And that
out.
compounds over time.
Yeah. 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 I mean, it, and I said, mentioned this to you. It's such a deep pattern for me to achieve and accomplish that I did slip back into that this year.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, girl, it was crazy. I didn't even realize it was happening, but my business took a quantum leap around January, February this year. I had launched a new program. I had just a massive influx of new clients. And it was just like one of those things that I had been in my, hypnosis visualizing for years. And I was like, oh my God, it's all
It's
happening.
here.
Let's fucking go. So it was amazing, but all these practices just kind of flew out the window. I no longer was blocking my calendar on Monday and Fridays. I wasn't doing any of my energetic practices. Something I hadn't mentioned, I'm very big in meditation, and I love to do a hypnosis every day and visualize my future and just take care of my vessel, and just the energetics is so important. I just dropped that this earlier this year and just was like waking up, grabbing my phone, who's DM'd me, what payment notification has hit, what does my client need, and working weekends, working late at night, because I would see clients all day, and I was like, well, let's do content until midnight, but the thing was, it was interesting, is I was lit up by it. I had so
Yes.
much energy around it, as I was so excited, right? Because it was everything I'd wanted. It was like those things I had seen business coaches posting about, of like, you
Yeah.
open your DMs and there's just like tons of DMs. I was like, it's
Yeah.
happening. And so I just ran with it. And I went to Europe in end of June with my best friend and just had 2 weeks offline and eating pasta with the Italians and just being present. And my nervous system just started to unwind, right? And I was just, oh my God, I feel so good. And I landed back in the US and I was launching a mastermind like the next week. And it was this massive shock to my system. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh shit, like this, I don't know. Like, it
I
comes,
remember this feeling and I
I
remember I
remember this
don't like
feeling.
it.
Yeah, I remember this feeling. And it was in that moment when I came back to the States mid-July, where I was like, I have been burnt out. I've been running on fumes most of this year. Whose business even is this? And really seeing, okay, well, you're making like so much more money than you were last year, but seeing I wasn't happier. I was actually, like, a mentor of mine asked me, like, were you happier when your business was small? And I was like, started bawling.
Yes, I
I was like,
was.
yeah. So then it was kind of an existential crisis. Not kind of, it was an existential crisis. Rest of July, August, September. I was just like, what am I doing? Do I burn it all down?
Yeah.
It
Yes.
felt like a prison. I started to feel like I was a consultant to my clients and like I worked for them and they're like, review my copy, this and that. And I was like, I don't want this.
No. No.
So then it was my own coach. She was like, Emily, you have forgotten your teachings. Like you launched your business coaching women out of burnout. And so I really got to come back to my pleasure, my energetic practices, really
Yeah.
prioritizing my aliveness
Yeah.
and have come out of it. But it was, I mean, to be transparent, I think there is still a part of my psyche and my soul that is still recovering from that because I went
Yeah.
so hard this year. So I've been really slowing down the past few months.
Yeah.
And that's been hard for my ego. That's like, but when you were working 7 days a week, like,
Yeah.
amazing.
It's burnout has got such a deep root, and people don't realize that it's got a really, really deep root. And until you get to it, it's going to keep coming up at different levels. So I feel like, as your business is at one level, you're good. And then as it scales, it raises its head again to show you again, you haven't got to the root of it yet. And I read in one of your posts on Instagram, and you said the word, and I was like, yep, that was the clue. That was the clue. And you were writing about this very thing, and you said something about I had begun to resent my business. Nice. And resentment is golden. It is golden. That is the clue for this particular block. As soon as you start to feel that from your emotional body, it's a reaction going, you're getting there. And so as soon as I read it, I was like, it's okay. She's clocked it. She's fine. Yeah. But it's just, you've been saying the same thing. I was exactly the same. When you're in it, you don't actually realize you're in it. Even though you come from a very spiritual background, you have lots of tools, you have lots of knowledge. I'm a healer, I have lots of knowledge. But when you're in it, it's very difficult to see it. And particularly when you're in an environment where everybody else is also burned out. So you're normalizing that everyone's exhausted, everyone's working long hours, everyone's sacrificing their family life, everyone's feeling like shit. And it makes it very difficult for you to go, I actually don't want this for myself. And unfortunately for most people, it takes getting to some kind of rock bottom before they go, I want to burn it all down. I am done. Where is the white flag? Get me a taxi. I am out of here. And so this is my whole thing, because obviously it is, like you say, the entire Western world. But healers, I believe, have a particularly difficult time with this because, culturally, and we are conditioned to believe that if you have any kind of gift, particularly that will help the well-being of another human, it is your duty under any circumstances to help and give. And so to now I'm getting tingles, so that's important.
I did too. I had to give you a snap.
And it's so difficult for healers to then go, okay, I'm going to prioritize myself. I'm going to create some space. I'm going to create some boundaries. I'm going to create some, self-care practices, which is wonderful. But then when you're faced with that client who is in some kind of crisis on the other side, it becomes that conflict of me versus them. And a healer will choose them every single time. Even though they know they're exhausted, even though they know their partner's going to shout at them for being home late once again, even though it means working on a Saturday when they don't want to. And until you dissolve the root because of this, it's going to make it very difficult for you to stand up and hold your boundaries.
Yes.
And that is why I know in your marketing, you are so keen to help because, you know, healers have this gift, but none of us were taught how to do marketing or business or anything like that. We have spent a lifetime kind of, you know, practicing our skill and our art and getting to grips with
Devoting to your
that.
craft. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then when you want to kind of start your own business, go on your own, you realize, oh, I actually don't know what I'm doing. And so when I meet somebody like you who also has a special place in your heart for the healers and the light workers, going, you know, you shared this with me in a message saying, you guys can literally change the world. Now let's get your message out there so that it lands with the right people and let's start seeing the shifts. So how did you come about that? How did you come about looking at healers going, man, you guys are struggling. Let me help you.
I love that question. And it's really my own journey. Like my first few years of running my coaching business were a shitstorm. And even though I came from a marketing background and had been using social media for 15 years. Like, I remember when I started doing social media marketing, Instagram didn't even exist. We were using things like Twitter. It wasn't called X at the time. We were using YouTube and Facebook. Like, it was no TikTok. Like, so this
Yeah.
wasn't my first rodeo. But when I came into my coaching business, again, was coming from burnout. So like a lot of my own wisdom kind of went out the window because I was seeing this marketing from like feminine embodiment business coaches that were like,
Yeah.
let's lay
I'm
in
in my
bed all
soft
day.
girl era.
Yeah, and just like orgasm, and the clients
Yeah,
will come to you, and like
absolutely.
yeah, and like just one of my earliest mentors too was just like, just be authentic and say whatever's on your mind, and the clients will be magnetized to your energy. And I was like, I want to do that. That sounds way more fun
That
than
sounds
being
much better.
strategic
Yeah.
and doing the messaging work and content strategy. So I was taking that approach that is actually quite common in the business coaching space of like, just, you know, kind of lean back and let it come, just focus, over index, I would say, on energetics,
Mm,
or just take the approach of just being yourself, and that's it. That's the strategy. And I saw like it crushed me. Like I went through hell, right? Like I went from making a multi six-figure salary to like literally panicking about paying rent and not being
mm,
able to, like,
mm,
playing credit card roulette. Like, let me put
mm.
everything on the credit card so I have just enough money to pay the landlord.
Yeah.
And I kind of had a snap out of it moment of like, Emily, like this approach is not working. There has to be an in between. And that's
Mm,
when I developed the approach I use now for myself and my clients, where I fuse the like really grounded marketing strategy with the energetics.
yeah.
And then, you know, having been in the industry for, I think about 2 years before it started to click for me, I'd made a lot of friends, like the
Yeah.
most in this space, the most gifted energy workers, Akashic record readers, coaches, hypnotherapists that were struggling like me, and that were taking this advice of just show up whenever you want, just be authentic, just like pleasure all day, every day, work an hour a day. And I was like, oh my God, no, no, no. And so I developed this approach I use now. And then I was just like, oh my God, I everyone needs this, and that's
Yeah.
part of what
Yeah.
led to the burnout. I was like, everyone
Yeah.
needs this. But it's just, obviously you turn on the news and you see the world is in chaos, it's on fire, people are in pain. And so I just saw too, in a psychedelic ceremony, I'm a big advocate for plant medicine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
saw this like very clearly, the creator, God, source, universe, whatever you want to call it, what happened in that ceremony, just this massive disconnect of like the world. There was like a visual of like the world on fire, pain, suffering, and then like all these glowing, gifted healers and light workers that have the medicine for those humans. And I was like, this doesn't make sense. Like they need each other. These humans need these coaches and these healers, but they're not able to hear them or see them because the way they're speaking is light worker language that the majority of the world doesn't understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, most people don't understand what unblock your throat chakra and activate your soul's next orgasmic level means, right?
No.
So they were missing each other.
Yeah.
It was like that Roald Dahl poem. I don't know if you love Roald Dahl, but that mask poem where you're like wearing masks and you're just like, you're walking right by each other on the street and you can't see that you're the person I need because you're
Yeah.
just so cloaked in
Yeah.
confusion, light
Yeah.
worker language, I like to call it, spiritual
It's
jargon.
so true.
So I was like, okay, that's why God's Source Universe had me navigate so many years in the 9 to 5, doing social media, branding, messaging, marketing to you. And then I have that background of my mom playing me Eckhart Tolle. So I was like, okay, I get it. That's why I have this background, like to uniquely prepare me to support these light workers to bring their magic and their medicine to the world that really needs them.
Yeah. And
I'm
so many people that I speak to these days are similar, where you are bridging almost two polar opposite topics. You know, you are bridging the marketing and the energetics. I can talk to you about your nervous system and the energetics. And lots of people that I speak to can do that. And I really believe that is part of why we're here right now, so that we can bring all those different worlds together and take the best of both, and create something new and beautiful that we've never seen before. But you're absolutely right. It's a minefield because we go from that masculine, pushing, hustle and grind. You know, I don't know about you, but all of my mentors before were men. That was the way they did it. I thought that was how it was. And then you go, no, that is not for me. I need to go and find another way. And then you get lured in by the internet. These women are going, yeah, I'm just like lying in my bed making £1 million a minute. And you think, well, that sounds good. Show me how to do that. But you're so right. It's got to be both. You've got to have the structure, the framework, the masculine container, and you've got to have the flow. You've got to tap into that feminine creativity. And I know myself, I never knew I was creative. I never knew it. I could kind of like copy what other people were doing, but I was never creative. And then you tap into this energy that you've never had before, and you're like, oh, wow, all this stuff is coming. This is amazing. But if you don't have a container to put that in, if you don't have the messaging that makes sense to your person, then like you say, those two worlds are never going to come together.
Yeah, yeah. And I also, when I first started my business, played around in the bro marketer world that was more like funnels and ads and cold DMing. And so I really tried on a lot of approaches, and for each of them I was like, this isn't quite it. And it was seeing the kind of lack of resonance for other students in these programs, and quite frankly, the lack of results. So I was just, I'm so grateful for the shitstorm of the first few years in my business, because I got to experience a lot and I got to really see what people were being taught in these programs. And I got to really try on a lot of these strategies that, the messaging was so good, right? So I was like, amazing, working an hour a day and making £1 million an hour. Let's fucking go. And, when I was first in those kinds of programs, I left feeling like angry and resentful and like, oh, they stole my money. But now I'm like, oh, thank you for that experience, because it really supported me and informed me of how I want to build my business and how I want to coach my clients. A balance, like you said, of the masculine structure and that beautiful, wild, creative feminine. And that feminine energy, that creativity, that life force, it becomes this chaotic tsunami if it doesn't have those guardrails of the masculine to flow with them. Like a
Absolutely.
light, I really thrive, and my clients really thrive in a very light masculine structure for the feminine to flow within. And I still see it happen with myself sometimes when I go too into the masculine, too into the structure, and I really move away from my intuition, from my heart. And it's a constant balance. It's a constant dance.
Well, one question that's coming to mind I want to ask you before you go. Was there ever a time in the journey, particularly in the transition bit, where the information was coming through and you were like, oh, I see what my mission is. I see who I'm supposed to speak to. Oh, this is pretty big. This is a big ask. Was there ever a time of resistance where you were like, no, it's fine. I'll just go over here and I'll stay small. Thank you very much.
Um, well, but actually, what's coming up for me, I don't know if it's going to answer your question, but when I first started my business, again, I was doing more general empowerment coaching and whatever, like no one knew what I was talking about. I was like, I help high achieving boss babes unlock their throat chakra. I was saying shit like that. No one knew what I was talking about. Then I did burnout coaching. That's how I was marketing myself. But who was coming to me very consistently were other coaches, were other healers, because they knew my background, right? But I was like, no, I don't want to be a coach to coaches. It's a fucking MLM scheme. No. So I resisted it for years, right? And my best friend, who I just spent time with in Austin, Texas, she's like, baby, I told you when you first started your coaching business, why aren't you doing business coaching? You've been in business marketing for 15 years. And I was like, because that's a scam. Because I had been in some programs too where it was just all like business coaches coaching business coaches to coach other business coaches. And that just grossed me out. I wanted no part of it. So I resisted what was happening, what was coming into my DMs, and I would coach them like on the side, like, okay, fine, like I guess like it's money and I love you, so let's do it. But I had no interest in marketing myself that way. I really no. And then my first official like business coaching client was, I remember she took a photo on our discovery call and she posted it on Instagram, and she actually wasn't a coach. Um, she owned an agency, and she said, I just hired my new business coach. And I remember having a meltdown and like messaging my mentor and being like, she thinks I'm her business coach. I'm not a business coach. I can't business coach her. But then it ended up being, such an incredible experience. And my mentor too was like, well, I'm confused. Why can't you do business coaching? Like,
You have been already? And
because, because,
this goes back to when you were working with a team and they were calling you Coach Emily. You were doing it before you were saying you were doing it.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I just, yeah, but when it came to business coaching and particularly coaching other coaches and other healers, I really did not want to do that. Because I just, yeah, there is a lot of that in this space. And I'm not here to say that that's necessarily wrong. Well, I mean, I guess I am saying it is wrong. I did call it a scam.
No, but my view on that would be the very fact that you find it ick and the very fact that you were resisting going, don't like that environment, suggests to me that you are the one who's supposed to go in and clean that environment up.
Thank you for saying that. And what my gene keys and my human design, my gift, what
Yeah.
my soul here for is revolution. 849. So I was like, I'm
Yes.
here to like, I was like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there's some shady shit happening in the business coaching space. And a big part of my business is really built on integrity and trust. Those are two of my big pillars, my big values. And it's just, I really love having women come in that have some scar tissue, some lowercase t trauma from like unscrupulous
Life.
business coaching, marketing, like practices and programs. And creating a new experience where you can trust the coach, you can trust you're actually going to be given tangible strategy and not just like be yourself. And I love to hold healers in that and show them like, look, getting support for your business, it doesn't have to be so goddamn hard. You shouldn't be having heart palpitations investing in a business coach worrying, are you going to screw me over too?
Yeah.
So it's just, and again, like I had some experiences when I first started in programs where I felt very screwed over and taken advantage of. Again, I'm now grateful for them, but I know
Yeah.
how that
Yeah. Yeah.
feels when you're not making any money and you spend like 8 grand and you walk away like feeling like I didn't really get anything out of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really important to me to create that really safe space and to just pour into my clients, and again with boundary, but
Yeah. Pouring from a full cup.
yeah, yeah, because it just that that breaks my heart that I speak to so many women that come in that have these horror stories of what has happened with like like I heard one the other day. I paid 60 grand for a business coaching space that ended up having no live support. It was just modules and there were no refunds. And like it was just, it made me want to vomit. And like her dog had gotten sick. And like she wanted like see if she could break the contract, and they're like no refunds, it said. And it just, like stuff like that. And it's so, I hate that because it's like it's the healers, the coaches, the light workers, they're just here to heal the goddamn world, and then there's these people preying on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Satan. So I'm here for, again, revolution. Gate.
Revolution. One of mine is Gate 55, so freedom.
Mm.
Yeah, so mine was about, I had the financial freedom when I was in burnout, but I had no other freedom. I felt like I was attached to the business. I was a healer. I was on all the time. And so my journey is about being free in all the ways. So yeah,
Oh, how
yeah.
beautiful.
And
And
then
you're
the
just
other
a
thing
beautiful
that
embodiment of that in your life and business.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I love it. And the other thing, the last thing, I promise, we're both 2-4 profiles in human design.
Yes.
So for you, you were in an office with lots of people for, I'm guessing, 8-10 hours and then still working. I was in a different person's energy at one point every 15 minutes, 6 days a week, from 9 in the morning till 6 at night. Can you imagine as a two line being with
Oh,
so many people all of the time?
I
Same for
know.
you. It's
Oh,
just human design. I mean, I'm not great with it. I kind of know my own, but I don't know other people's. But
yeah.
that was a massive permission slip for me to go, oh, I am supposed to have half of my time on my own and then half of my time deeply serving my community. So
Mm.
for me to work from home and do programs with groups is perfect. It suits my energy. And like you say, then you're in your genius, then you're getting results, then you're helping the people. Has that
I
been,
love you. I need a lot of alone time. That's why I really love trying to the best of my ability. Like sometimes we'll maybe have a call on Monday if it's a reschedule, but for the most part, my calls are only on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
yeah,
And then Friday through Monday, I can be alone. I can be create in my creation and you're creating content marketing. 'Cause to me, marketing is like so much fun. It's like the
yeah,
greatest art project ever. So
yeah, yeah,
I love that part. And yeah, looking back at being in an office, because this was before remote work was even acceptable. I remember my CEO, if we were to work from home, being like, "Are you really working?" Like, I'm
yeah,
not.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, looking back, oh my God, like I would come home completely toasted. And I'm also like, no wonder you were hitting those martinis. You
Yeah,
like make
yeah,
it stop.
yeah,
But
absolutely.
I actually can reach a point though where I get too much alone time. Like last year, I lived in Mexico City for 6 months with my sister and didn't really have a big community there.
Mm,
So did actually see, oh, okay, I'm spending way too much time in my apartment, and
mm,
then
mm,
that doesn't feel good either. And then with the four, I know for us, that's also, we actually can receive a lot of energy and opportunity through the community too. So it's
yeah.
just like for the health of my business and just my soul, I know it's really important for me to be in community, be in around people, but in small doses. Like I am
Yeah.
not going to be sharing a room with a bunch of girls on a trip. Let's just say that.
No, I'll be sitting at the bottom of the garden reading a book going, just give me five.
Yeah, for New Year's, I'm going to stay at a friend's apartment in Brazil, and there's going to be three of us, and we're going to be all together for a few days. And I'm already like
I
bracing
just
myself
feel,
a bit.
yeah, yeah. You'll have to recover afterwards. Emily, this has been so good. I knew it would be. Thank you so much for coming on and let people know where they can find you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I have loved this conversation. This flew by. And I was coming in a little tired from flying yesterday, and this conversation just lit my soul up. So thank you for having me.
Perfect.
And I spend way too much time on Instagram, so that's where you can find me, Emily Oriana Todd. Send me a hello. Let me know your biggest takeaway. I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. Thank you so much for coming. And as always, I look forward to connecting with you on the next podcast. I am rooting for you. We rise together. If you feel called, please rate and review. I would really appreciate that.